Apple recently released,
Liquid glass, with the optical qualities of glass and a fluidity that only Apple can achieve.
but I wanted to try to make liquid glass myself to see if I could make it look like apples. When I first saw this material, I thought, Metaballs. You can find them in the ad panel and they work intuitively. They merge together when they come close, which make modeling and planning a project really easy. I made this creepy dog using Metaballs. Save changes before closing? Don't save. But what I want to focus on is just under the ball. It's the capsule, which when you flatten down acts exactly like liquid glass without the pain of animating the mesh. And this means that the plan is to create a clean animation that acts like this. I think it'll be pretty simple to make this animation. I flattened this ball and I was basically halfway there. But I also want to create a scene to light everything. I typically make a box like this, and after I remove the top, I bevel the edges and smooth everything so that the creases are softer. I think I'll raise this up a bit. I also want to change this to ray trace cycles. This area light should be enough to light the scene. Maybe it needs some more power? Yup, that looks brighter. Apple created this image for a thumbnail, so I'll start off by making the background grid. I search for a brick texture because it will give me the tiles I need, and I tweak the settings to get thin square lines. I also adjusted the camera to have a top-down perspective. For the glass texture, I'll just use a glass node, drag it onto the surface, and I'll make the IOR about 1.6. Also, some roughness could look nice to make it opaque. I'm gonna raise this up a bit. I also created a second light because I want the light to come in from the top left. Just like that. And it's already starting to come together. I didn't want the glass to reflect light from anywhere else, so I made these walls. And they were pitch black. But I think that the light was beginning to reflect better. It looks alright, but the surface is very reflective. So I made the lighting softer, rendered it, and it looked good. And here's a second angle. Either ways, there's a small problem. This is a side profile of the cell. When the surface is smooth and shiny, light simply goes through. But when the surface is rough and opaque, light bounces inside before getting released. In most types of liquid glass, the surface is opaque, but light is visible. But it makes sense because Apple says,
Liquid glass is a new digital metamaterial.
yeah, I don't think I can make that. In this other example, they made different layers for each characteristic of the glass, so I tried to copy it in Blender. I made a similar environment to the ones Apple makes, and the render looks pretty close to Apple's. And using this knowledge, this was another shot I wanted to create. It's a ton of cells moving around. So I animated everything and I got this. It looks a bit rinky-dink because I couldn't increase the Metaballs render quality. I think that's the main problem. Metaballs, they aren't reliable. They become glitchy, and I couldn't use motion blur because it would mess up the Metaballs. They are resource intensive, so it takes more energy to create better renders, and they're hard to make look good. My final words of wisdom are, an update to non-mesh materials would be beneficial, especially with more and more improvements to tech. Thank you.